The topic today we are going to discuss is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I just give you some snippets, the things that you have already covered during our last few sessions. So when you talk about the Sanatan Dharma, the Sanatan Dharma has something called as Prasthanatraya. And today's topic is the path to liberation, and that is being taken from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So before I delve into the subject, which is quite, it's on dialogue between Yajnavalkya and Maitrey. So before I delve into the subject, let us have some kind of a background. What exactly is we are actually getting into? So the very word Prasthanatraya has the word called Prasthan, and the word Prasthan basically means that actually you are getting into a path, you are getting into something, and entire Sanatana has a lot of methodology and a lot of ways through which they are showing us the path for liberation. Ultimately, all human beings are looking for Ananda, that is bliss, and ultimate happiness. And our life is throws us lots of challenges. It is a mountain to be crossed. So it's a ford. तीर्थ बोलते हैं हम लोग, तीर्थ यात्रा करते. So what is the reason behind that? We have certain kind of a faith, and when you do that, you think that yes, we have conquered a difficult path, and we have conquered ourselves. We don't conquer Mount Everest. We conquer our self. We don't give up any addiction. We actually conquer ourselves. So Prasthanatraya is actually the triple canons of Sanatan Dharma. And what are they? They are actually three. Sanatan Dharma is vast. It will have one lifetime less to delve into the matter. But if you have read these three important texts, of course, we have done a lot in your single lifetime. One is first is the Brahma Sutra. That is it is quite vast, of course. That is written by Badarayana. That is one. Second is the Bhagavad Gita. There's a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and of course there are 18 chapters. In each and every chapter are the gist of the Upanishad. And last is the Upanishads. The number of Upanishads, we don't know exactly how much. We have how many? We have almost around 200. Some texts says it is more than that. Somewhere it is 108. But actually we have the main principal Upanishads are actually 10 or 11. It is 10 or 11, I'm telling you, because the 11th one, that is Shveteshwara Upanishad, we don't know whether it was commented by Adi Shankaracharya. When we say principal Upanishad, I mean, these are the Upanishads that has been commented by Adi Shankaracharya. And the Sanatan Dharma is flowing from the legends of Adi Shankaracharya. So that is the brief background. And so Prasthan means you are taking the path of reading this text, that is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and it is Shruti, Yukti, and Swanubhuti. Okay, by and large, they are actually same. Shruti, you are actually listening. Yukti, you are doing a lot of reasoning. And Swanubhuti is you are trying to feel. And until unless we feel, we don't get into the context, because one is the Drabha Pradhan, Vastu Pradhan, and another is a Bhava Pradhan. And the entire text of Upanishads are so dense with allegory, so much of rupak and metaphors, then one has to really catch the elemental thoughts in them. They are very fundamental. They are very, very bhava oriented, and one has to really catch it, because sometimes certain things are there. It defies logic. For example, in a black hole, the laws of physics gets broken. We don't know exactly what kind of science really works in black hole, when still there are a lot of work is going on. Similarly, the language gets it defies language. You don't know exactly what kind of a language can explain what is the ultimate, because it was the Nobel laureate of physics Schrödinger who was so much passionate about physics, but he denied materialism after a certain time, and he said that consciousness is fundamental. So when you are talking about Prasthanatraya through Sanatan Dharma, we are trying to understand what is the ground of all being. So that is the element that actually we are trying to get into. And life, of course, will be throwing us a lot of objects and a lot of desires and a lot of temptations and a lot of things that we fall for. But definitely, definitely that will not actually lead us to happiness, because we all know that beyond a point, matter doesn't matter. What matters is something which is infinite. That is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman. And that is something we are actually looking for. It is Ananda Lahiri and Saundarya Lahiri. So Saundarya is the beauty, and Ananda is, of course, is the bliss that actually you are looking for. Shankaracharya has given a commentary on the Saundarya Lahiri. That is something probably we can even touch upon that also. So today's talk is where Yajnavalkya, one of the important character of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and he is trying to give the path of liberation to one of his wife, that is Maitrey. Okay, and before I talk about Yajnavalkya and Maitrey's dialogue, a bit about background about Yajnavalkya. Now, Yajnavalkya is very, you can say he was a metaphysician, a philosopher, a debater, a penetrator of truth and understanding, and going beyond the phenomenal world. The world is all about phenomena. It was a great philosopher called Immanuel Kant who said that two things has really wondered me throughout my life. One is the starry heavens above and the moral law within, and that is also true. See, all the cosmologists, all the physicists, and all the scientists in this particular field are trying to understand that how the universe has been created. And other thing is exactly what makes a person to behave the way they behave. So one side we're talking about cosmology, and another side we're trying to understand psychology, and we are trying to find a kind of a bridge between. Probably to a large extent, Upanishad has given both. So Upanishad talks about cosmology, they also talks about psychology, they also talks about human liberation and salvation. So it happened that during Yajnavalkya's time, all the rishis came together, and they had a kind of a symposium that everybody has to come and everybody has to meet. And in case if somebody is not coming, there will be a take this penance. So what actually happened? It was if I have to tell you this story, Yajnavalkya's guru was Vishampan, and Vishampan actually had to attend that particular meeting. He couldn't go there, and when he came, he said that Vishampan, you are Yajnavalkya, you are one of my favorite students, so you have to take the penance. And it happened that Yajnavalkya said that we are all young. How can we take this penance? It is something that you have to only do it. So Vishampan was very, very angry. But how come it may happen that that you are my student, that you are getting angry? It is not possible. So they start actually having a fight. Vishampan and Yajnavalkya started actually having a fight. And then Vishampan got very, very angry. He got very angry. And he said that I don't want a student like you. You give me the knowledge that I have given you for such a long time. And Yajnavalkya also got very angry. He said that even I also don't want a teacher like you. So he vomited all the knowledge. Now, knowledge is knowledge. The knowledge cannot be wasted. So Vishampan told all his disciples that you have to eat this knowledge. But how can human beings take that vomit? So they got converted into titir, into birds, and those birds has actually taken the knowledge, and that is how you will see Yajurveda. There are two parts. One is the Krishna Yajurveda, that is the black one, and another is the Shukla Yajurveda. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is coming from the Shukla Yajurveda. So the entire Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is being dotted by Yajnavalkya's presence. So that is a bit brief of background. So that actually talks about the relationship between Yajnavalkya and Vishampan. And actually Vishampan, after this event, he said that I will have knowledge on my own. So he goes to sun god and he gets the knowledge, and that knowledge becomes the Shukla Yajurveda. Okay, and the previous one that was actually given by Yajnavalkya, that is the Krishna Yajurveda. Now that is basically a kind of a background event that we're trying to understand. And now we'll get into the dialogue between Maitrey and Yajnavalkya. and which is actually all about understanding two worlds. Two world is one of the world is called the phenomenal world, and another is the world which is beyond, and that is something that we are trying to understand and that we are trying to get. And what is that is something we are trying to delve through this dialogue, and all the teachings that has been given in the Upanishads, they are all in the form of dialogue, because it is a dialogue through which the disciple and the guru, they are trying to understand and able to exchange the words and exchange the real learnings. Now, it happened that Yajnavalkya has already lived his life, and he's a householder, and he has seen a lot of things, and he's at quite a ripe age, and he decided that he would give up this world, he will renounce. You all will see that in the Sanatana Dharma, renunciation is one of the important parameter of everybody's liberation. Okay, we are talking about celibacy, that is the brahmacharya, grahastha, okay, and vanaprastha and sannyasa. These are all ashramas of life. So Yajnavalkya was a householder, and he has lived his life. He had two wives. One of them is Maitrey, and second is Katyayani. And Maitrey is she has a lot of interest in theology, in metaphysics, in philosophy, whereas Katyayani she's a housewife, and she used to take care of the house and all the housework and everything. So it happened, Yajnavalkya said that I am now departing, I am going to leave both of you, and I am going to give the wealth to both of you. But Maitrey was different lady. She was not an ordinary lady, and she asked, before we depart, I have few questions. And yes, my beloved, you're always dear to me, and these questions makes you much more beloved. Tell me what actually you have to ask. And she asked, the first question is, if I get all the wealth of this world. So he said, now he said that he said, if the Maitrey asked, what would happen if I get all the wealth? And then Yajnavalkya replied that yes, if you get all the wealth of from the world, you will not be happy. And then again, Maitrey said that then it is what that actually can make me happy. And then the dialogue actually starts, and it actually gets into deeper. And all wealth actually will not give you happiness. It is something beyond the phenomenal world that actually will be giving you the happiness. And what is that? And then Yajnavalkya said that it is basically the knowledge of yourself. And what is self is something that you have to understand. And then actually he gets into the kind of a disposition, and his teachings started actually getting very, very slowly. And the first thing is, Yajnavalkya says to his wife Maitrey that it is not for the sake of the husband that the husband is dear. It is because of the sake of the Atman that the husband is dear. Okay, and then he says that it is not for the sake of wife that the wife is dear. It is for the sake of the Atman that the wife is dear. And then again he says that it is not for the sake of the son that the son is dear. It is because of the sake of the self the son is dear. Again, he says that it is not for the sake of the wealth that the wealth is dear. It is because of the sake of the self or the Atman that the wealth is dear. So like that, he keeps on going, and it is Atman, and it is basically the self. Because of that, which actually gets the ananda, and that gets the bliss. Is because of that actually. So all things that is coming in our life, we are trying to get the expression of that through ourselves, and because of that actually we are trying to we get the happiness. But Maitrey couldn't get, and this languages of Upanishads are very, very cryptic, and he carries on actually. Then he says that he gives a lot of examples. Then he gives the example of a drum. Now, drum, if you see, if you actually, a drum has a lot of beats, it has a lot of notes, and it can have a lot of pitch. But that actually doesn't show exactly the quality of a drum. So it is the very universal sound, the awaj of the drum, that makes the sound of the drum as a drum. Okay, so it is talking something about high pitch or a low pitch. But those are not the sound of the drum. So it is all the variations of the sounds that is coming from the drum. But it is only the musician who is able to make a lot of variations by using his dexterity, by using his skill. And then he gives the example of a conch, that a conch blower can make the sound from the conch in lot of different pitch. But that conch may sound like a very different instrument, but actual sound of the conch is a very general sound of the conch. Similarly for the veena also, there are lots of notes and a lot of pitch, but it is all about skills of the musician who is able to create those things. Similarly, the world is all filled with a lot of objects and a lot of vastu, and they all come in various forms and shape, but exactly they are not the reality. So here, Yajnavalkya is actually giving a lot of insistence and a lot of understanding on how the world is basically in terms of its expositions and its dispositions and based on the reality. So there are two worlds. One of the world is a world of phenomena, and another world is a world of noumena. Now, phenomena is something that is happening in front of us, and we all get logged into it. We all get attached into it, and we all get clinged into it. And another world is the world of noumena. Noumena means something that is something not in front of us. Generally, we are trying to understand the phenomena of the earth. We are trying to understand the way, the happenings of life. But there are a lot of things which is not in front of us, but they're actually happening. And through this dialogue and through these teachings, Yajnavalkya is trying to explain, Maitrey, what exactly is the self? Because our self is actually concealed. It is having an avarana. Okay, and we are not actually trying to see the self. When I say the self, it is not the self in terms of ego or in terms of psychology. The self is in terms of the Atman, which is actually the fundamental, the reality that we are trying to get in touch with, which is very, very infinite, which is Satyam. And it is because of the Maya, it is because of the Avarana and the Vikshep. Avarana is something where everything is being concealed, and Vikshep is something called a projection. So because of the Avarana and the projection, we are not actually getting the reality. And more materialism we get into, there's a more of Avarana and a more of a Vikshep. And the Yajnavalkya's teaching to Maitrey is trying to remove this avarana and remove this projection and trying to give the understanding. And then he gets into the second rupak after the conch and after the drum, and he says that same happens with a veena, with the or a flute. And then he says that even for a fire, he says that fire is one element which is very, very fundamental. But fire can appear in the form of a flame. It can appear in the form of spark. It can appear in the form of an ember. But ultimately, it is all fire. Similarly, there is the sole property of any ocean is actually water. But water can appear in the form of a crystal. Water can form in the form of ice. Water can form in the form of a vapor. But ultimately, it is water. Similarly, even for a human being, it is Atman, but this Atman is being concealed by our skin. It is being concealed by all our sensory organs. It is concealed by, or even by our mind. So when you say mind, it is manas, it is buddhi, and it is ahamkara. So it is ego which is actually becoming an obstacle, and it is buddhi which can be applied to understand that what actually is the reality. So whether it is human body, the human body has so many parts. And it not only part, it also has a mind, but that mind also has a layer. And all these things are becoming an obstruction to understand the reality. So what is required is delayering of the self and trying to understand the reality. What is the reality? When Mundaka Upanishad talks about two types of vidya, one is paravidya and another is aparavidya. One is higher knowledge and another is lower knowledge. All our studies, all our subjects are dealing with the lower knowledge. And any knowledge that is talking about higher knowledge is a paravidya. Okay, paravidya. And what is that paravidya? Is if you actually get into the one of the canon out of the triple canon of Sanatana Dharma is the Brahma Sutra, and the first sloka of the Brahma Sutra is Atho Brahma Jigyasa. Now, once we get into this habit of asking the question that what is this reality, then we are trying to understand the Paravidya. So here Maitrey asking a question to Yajnavalkya that can all wealth in this world make me happy? And Yajnavalkya says no. But of course, it is a human bickering, it is a human longing, it is human clinging that we find that yes, more money we have or more material we have, we can find maximum happiness. And we are so greedy and we are so clinging after it that we don't not only have enough of money for this life, we try to have enough of money for the next generation also. Now that is all about clinginess. How much actually money we require for a betterment of life. And even studies says that beyond the point, matter doesn't matter. What matters is something which is infinite, and all human beings are longing for it. Only thing is that because of too much of bickering and too much of materialism, probably we are unable to get it. Upanishads step by step is trying to clarify our doubt and trying to really remove all the dirts and all the bickerings from our mind so that we can get in touch with what is the reality. Okay, and this is something that we are trying to understand how things are taking place. Now, as Yajnavalkya is giving these expositions to Maitrey, a time comes where Maitrey is very, very confused, and Maitrey, is not able to understand that, yes, Yajnavalkya, you are saying all these things, I am able to understand, but I am confused. What exactly is this Atman? I am not getting it. Then Yajnavalkya further goes on, and he actually talks about the salt. But salt doesn't have any interiority, it doesn't have any exteriority. A lump of salt, when it is being taken in a pond or maybe in a glass of water or in any jar, the entire water becomes salty and it gets mixed up. And so Atman is there everywhere, Brahman is there everywhere, but it is so much all pervasive that we are unable to identify. We are unable to identify because we are trying to see the reality in a different eye, and our lenses are not very, very clear, and that is making us a problem. And then he talks about the transcendent Brahman, and then he talks about the reality in terms of which is generally not seen by our ordinary eye, and it requires a different kind of anusashana. It requires a different kind of a discipline. And if you actually look into the Upanishad, you see the methodology here is Upadesha, Upapati, and Upasana. Upadesh is something in terms of teachings that have been given to the disciple, that is Upadesha. Upapati is all about reasoning, the way things are being reasoned out. And then Upasana is kind of a worship or a meditation. Okay, so it is Shruti, Yukti, Savanabhuti, or even Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Now, these are actually the methods. So when you actually follow these methods, we are trying to get rid of all our faulty thinking, because the things that we are thinking and the way we are thinking is a fault, and it is actually fallacious. But we don't even question that the way we are thinking. And all our stress, if you see from a psychological perspective, all our stress and all our anxiety and all our depressions are all because of incorrect thinking. So if I make my thinking correct, even a lot of my problem in the body and the mind can go away. So even if you actually go by the Ayurveda and some of the latest medical science findings, which latest medical science is trying to really accept that, which our rishis have already found that. See, the problem happens at the energy level first, and after that it comes at the level of your cells, and then at your tissue, and then into your organ. So before the energy level, it is at the thought level. So there is reality is actually coming in the form of a gross level, subtle level. Okay, so there is Sthula Sharir, Shukshma Sharir, and Karana Sharir. Generally, we are giving a lot of importance to the Sthula world, that is objective world. We don't give importance to the Sukshma world. And the Sukshma world is all about your mind. It is about your emotions. It is about your feelings. It is about your feeling pleasant. It is feeling good, actually. Merton Seligman, who is one of the authority into the field of happiness in Harvard, they have a course on happiness. Why people are looking after or actually moving after happiness? There are happiness courses there. There are a lot of books on happiness, on positive psychology. And that is all our rishis talked about the subtle world. So we think that objects will give us happiness. Yes, we need them, because empirically we cannot deny the world, because ultimately everything is empirical, and we have a lot of rationality. But at a certain point in our life, it happens that I think all our empirical existence and all our sthula existence no matter really matters. What matters is something beyond that. So how come that you actually hear an old song and you become tearful, or you go back to your good old days? Now, what happens actually? Now, there is something called a neurology of consciousness, or neuroscience, and we have 86 billion neurons. And by and large, there is something called as neural correlates of consciousness. By and large, scientists today have pinpointed that what happens in the brain that gives us such kind of a feeling. That is something which is known as known thing of the brain. But how does something which is physical give rise to a consciousness that you don't know? And popularly, that is called as the hard problem of consciousness. And that is something our rishis are trying to address through this Upanishad. And that's what actually Yajnavalkya is trying to give it to the Maitrey. That all wealth, here wealth basically means anything which is objective wealth. And Atman is trying to the other pole. So there are two poles here. One pole is talking about the Sthula, and another pole is talking about the Shukshma. And the more we are trying to understand this Shukshma world, we are trying to understand, and that Shukshma world is the fundamental reality, which is the ground of consciousness, which is also called as the Brahman. And that is something actually we are trying to realize, and that is something that Yajnavalkya is trying to give it. Now, if you actually now get into some of the real wisdom from this teaching, so there are three types of reality. One is called Paramarthika Satta. Second is the Vyavaharika Satta, and another is the Pratibhashika Satta. Now, Paramarthika is something that is very, very tough to really understand. That is something the entire Upanishad is giving the exposition all about. Paramarthika is something which is the absolute reality, and that is the Brahman. And that is totally hidden because of too much of clinging to this world. Vyavaharika is something that we are all into it. We're all householders. And that cannot be denied, because that is something which is about existence. The question is, how can we be into this existence at the same time strive for the Paramarthika? And Pratibhashika is something which is more like an apparent reality. A lot of realities, they are not actually, but they are looking like as if they are there. It's like a mirage. So in a mirage, we feel intellectually that it is having water, but there is not a single drop of water. It is just a phenomenon of reflection, and we feel that yes, it is there, but actually when you go there, it is not there. So that is a mirage that is being well established. And in life also, it happens that many things are in the form of mirage. It is an apparent reality, and you are looking for it. That we feel that yes, I will start meditating once I have time. And then we feel that, yes, I'll start meditating once I am happy. Then we feel that, yes, I'll start doing this once my son gets an admission. And then we feel that, yes, I'll do this once this particular problem, which is just dangling, get into a closure. But that never comes, actually. That never comes. So we keep on postponing, and we get into a crisis. So it is being said that the more we postpone, the more we are in crisis, and the more we are in crisis, we think that let me postpone. At least आज का दिन तो अच्छा जाएगा, आज का दिन अच्छा रहे, चल गया. So we are always into the mode of either postponing, or actually we are actually getting into a crisis, and that is something like a vicious circle. Now, Paramarthika is something which is talking about the reality, and it is understanding that yes, beyond matter and beyond our phenomenal existence, there's another existence, and I get into that. And that is not a speculation, because Upanishads doesn't get into a speculation that something that can happen in future, or something that can happen after death. No. Upanishads are very practical. It is something that one can experience here and now. And one of the way that can happen is asanga, that is non-attachment. And it requires that, yes, I am attached, but still I am detached. It is attached detachment, or detached attachment, because empirical world cannot be denied. So when you're talking about trying to understand the bliss and how do we get this ananda and this infinite joy, it is only possible by being in this world, but at the same time not getting attached too much. Yes, we have to do our duty, no doubt. Swami Vivekananda made a great statement. He said that great work requires great and a persistent effort for a long time, and character has to be established through 1,000 stumbles. Character has to be established through 1,000 stumbles, because this kind of disposition, this kind of an attitude requires a lot of building character, and it is not an actually easy one. It's a tough one. So any great work requires persistent and a consistent effort, and one has to develop a lot of a strong character. And if we can able to develop our mindset, automatically our brain also gets positioned. Initially, there was a kind of a belief that it is our brain that makes our system of thinking and everything. But today's science called epigenetics, they are talking about it is your biography that creates your biology, not the other way. Okay, it is not something that your biology creates your biography. It is your biography. When I say biography, means your journey of your life, the way you actually go in your life. You are able to create a lot of grooves in your system of your brain by which you are able to change your behavior. So it is a belief that creates your biology, not the other way. So you change our belief system, our brain gets changed, and in turn they change our behavior. So Upanishad has a lot of effect on the way we think. It can totally alter our thinking pattern. And once we get into that, we are trying to understand that yes, it is making so much of. And for that, we have a whole science of yoga, actually. So if you get into, maybe if I take some of the sutras, maybe the first sutra, if I take, it first takes that Atha Yoga Anushasana. Now, what does it actually mean? Well, Atha Yoga Anushasana. So Atha means now. Just now, it is talking about blessing. It is auspiciousness. Yoga is joining. It is yoke. It is junction. It is an union, and it is an application. And of course, Anushasanam is all about discipline. Okay, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Now, Upanishad requires a lot of training. I mean, trying to understanding Upanishad and putting that into reality requires a lot of discipline. And it requires a lot of character building, because it is character that actually builds our own life. So when Yajnavalkya is giving these teachings to Maitrey, actually Yajnavalkya is teaching Maitrey to develop that kind of a character, because she was always interested in metaphysics and theology. That is an intellectual level, and now he is talking about that you have to practice that, and then it will be possible to understand what is the reality, what is the Paramarthika Satta. Okay, so yoga, Atha Anushasanama is a discipline, and generally discipline is something which is very, very difficult to get. Like you will find that in your life we sometimes think about that yes, I'll be doing this, and we tend to somehow bypass that. Like take a very simple example in life. Say it is early in the morning and it is maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, and you want to think that I'll be doing yoga or meditation. And there's always a battle between your body and your mattresses. And invariably, the mattresses will be winning. And sometimes you win because it is because of your character. And that is a discipline. Now, to get up from the bed is not something that you do. You do it because you have a lot of a conviction, and it is not a confidence, it is not an opinion, it is not a knowledge, it is a conviction. And once we are committed to that particular conviction, nothing can actually nothing can hold us. So pleasure sometime, senses sometime will come a barrier to understand the Brahman, because I think I repeated a number of times that Brahman is a very hard and a tough task master. He will not make you to reveal until unless we go through certain kind of a character building process and certain kind of an austerity in our life. So, and then only slowly the mind actually gets developed. So you must be knowing that there are certain emotions that are very dangerous. Kama, Krodha, Lova, Moha, Mada, Matsraya. And all these are very, very dangerous. Can I overcome this Kama, that is lust, Krodha, that is anger, Lova, that is greed, Kama, Krodha, Lova, Moha, delusion, Mada, Matsraya, pride, Matsraya, jealousy. Then all these are all very common emotions, and all human beings will be going through that. And if I'm not able to overcome through my character building, how can I actually get into the reality? So it requires a lot of conviction. And this conviction generally doesn't get built in one day. So it requires certain kind of a discipline. So yoga is not only asana jo hai, is only bodily movement, okay? Bodily movement. But yoga has 8 parts, and out of 8 parts, only 1 part is talking about asana. Yoga is not only about asana. There is only 1 part. 7 parts are talking about the mind. The mind actually. So how are I meant to train? Train the mind. So mind sometimes can be a shatru, and a mind can be your friend. It can be your Maitrey actually. It can be mind. So it has been said that surrender your lower mind to the higher mind. And once your mind can be your friend, mind can be your enemy. So surrender the lower mind to the higher mind. And higher mind, once it takes off, it will take you to the liberation. It will take you to the path of the prasthan. It will make you to liberate. Because आप देखेंगे शरीर शरीर है. शरीर, what is शरीर? शरीर is basically an embodied soul. एक बंधन है शरीर. Question is, we are always trying to really get rid of this शरीर. शरीर नहीं चाहिए. Because we all got a sharir because of our karma, and it is called embodiment. Embodiment. You're all embodied. Souls are embodied. But in this life, easy life, may actually you can get liberated. We can get. No, when I say liberation, it is liberation from anger, or liberation from jealousy, liberation from moha, liberation from hallucination, liberation from delusion. Okay, all these things are killing us actually. So you just think that I can. You are all happy now, but I can make you to remind of a bad event in your life, and you will be totally gone out of your mind at present. Any bad event that has happened maybe 12 years back, 20 years back, if you just remember, you're gone. You're gone. You'll have immediately you have a palpitation, you'll have a blood pressure, you'll have sweat, and that will be visible on your forehead. That's all happened. So mind is a friend, and mind is an enemy. So what can be done is that to remove the impurities. And removing the impurities actually is the yoga. Now, second sutra, if you get into the second sutra of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it talks about that yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga, you know the meaning now. It is joining between the higher, between the self and then the higher. It is yoga. Chitta is the consciousness which has manas, which has buddhi, and which is ahamkara. And the vritti is the fluctuation, is the modification. And nirodha is stoppage. Chitta vritti nirodha. And you will find that in a 24 hours in a day, that so much of a thoughts are coming. Sometimes you are elated, sometimes you are depressed, sometimes you are feeling low, sometimes you are feeling very, very good. And if you are able to note each and every second, you are all actually God will get mad. We generally tend to evade all these things. The question is total quantum of vritti in terms of high. Am I feeling good? How much of time am I feeling good? Chitta vritti nirodha. And the more is the vritti, the more we are getting away from the reality. Okay, more is the amplitude. More is the amplitude you are going actually. Question is sthiti prajna. Sthiti prajna is helping us to keep that particular state. And the more we are into that particular state, we understand that yes, my mind is stable. And if my mind is stable, my cells in the body can be stable. And if they are stable, then the vat, pit, kapha also will be stable. Then I don't have much of a problem. Vritti jitna hota hai, utna apna sharir mein bhi problem hota hai. You're all embodied soul. The soul is disturbed, the body will be disturbed. Okay, the mind is disturbed, the cells are disturbed, the tissues are disturbed, the organs are disturbed, the entire physiology is being disturbed actually. We are trying to understand the entire hierarchy. So if you talk about the way, I think it was Ernest Haeckel, who was an ecologist, who has given the entire taxonomy. The taxonomist or the scientist who actually has given up the entire the species, the classification of organisms. So it is species, then the genus, then the family, then the order, class, phylum, kingdom. Kingdom are of course 5 types. They are Animalia, plant, fungi, protista, monera. Okay, now this is something to do with biological classification you're talking about. Our rishis has given the classification already. They are talking about the Sukshma Sharir and the Sthula Sharir and the Karana Sharir. And they have given the ultimate kingdom of our planet, okay, or of the inter-universe from the cosmological perspective is the Brahman. That is in the Nashadiya Shukta, it talks about the creation. And the more you are trying to understand the ultimate kingdom, it is not about animal, it is not about plant, it is not about Monira and the protist and the fungi, but it is the Brahman. And if you actually equate science with Upanishad, actually. So everything is a classification. And the rishis has also classified. And they are trying to classify in terms of the vrittis that we are having. So one is trying to understand the vritti in terms of the fluctuations that we are having every day and objects that is coming in from every day. Today we have Android, we have Apple, we have Samsung, or we have so many objects and so many dravya. They're all various kind of class of mobile phones and certain categories, and then they belong to certain. And then of course we have so much of breeds of dogs and cats, and then so many types of furnitures. They all are variety. So in marketing, they are called as segmentation. And why do we need so much of segments actually? And probably only one segment can make us happy. So it is roti, kapra, makan, and something beyond that also. That the more segments we have, the more we have the vrittis. The more the products goes up in the market, the more vrittis we have. We think that, अरे मेरे पास अभी जो mobile है वो तो पुराना हो चुका. Let me go for the new one. Let me go for the new class. ये class का नहीं है. And you go for the next class. So that's a vritti. And sometimes it goes down and sometimes it goes up actually. So the ultimate vritti, vritti is coming from too much of a segmentation. And the ultimate classification was done by the rishis. And that ultimate is the Brahman that actually we're trying to reach. Okay? That is one actually. Now I'll just, before I end, almost we'll have, maybe I'll speak for a few more minutes, then we can have a QA. It is one of the story that I have listened from a British philosopher, that is Alan Watts, that if you have so much of infinite, that is Satyam, Jnanam, and Antam and Brahman, if you know this, then why actually we are not able to achieve that and able to get that? So it was Alan Watts who has given a fantastic story. It happened that God was there and God was all alone. This is a very popular story. Some of you might have read somewhere or heard somewhere. And he was all alone, and he got totally bored with his own existence. So he wanted to have a better life. So what he did is he created all beings like him, and he disguised himself that he's not God, and he got involved with all other beings because that is his own creation. Now God is God. God is good, and God is sincere, and God does everything very sincerely, whatever he does. And then God started playing with all the beings, and since he is so sincere and is so involved that he actually gets totally embodied with other beings, and he started playing. And then he forgets that he's God. He forgets that he's God. And now that God is in search of God, okay, and he's trying to come out, but he has lost because he's now searching himself. So same with the human beings. So actually, our origin is soul. We're all coming from a being. We're all coming from untarnished being. And because of vagaries, because of vrittis, because of fluctuation, because of modification, because of our longing, because of our clinging, and because of our Mada Matsraya, we got totally pinched into this existence, and we don't know how to come out. आपको लगता है चलो अभी ये कर लेते, एक क्वालिफिकेशन कर ले, वो कर ले, फिर बाद में जाके करेंगे. But the days are passing by, hours are passing by, years are passing by, and we get into that bickering. So we don't know exactly. So the path of liberation is through the knowledge, paravidya and aparavidya. And the more we tend to get into the understanding that there is an infinite self behind this finite self, and anything which is finite cannot give us happiness. Anything which is infinite can actually give us happiness. And what is that actually? So that is something that we are looking for. And Swami Vivekananda is to quote from the Kathopanishad that it is Utista Jagrata Prakyavaran Nivodata. It basically means arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Every soul is potentially divine. Our goal is to manifest the divinity within. Do this through by psychic control, by work, or by worship, or by philosophy. Books, dogmas, churches, temples are all are secondary details. So that is so. It is not only karma yoga. It is not only about bhakti yoga. It is not only about jnana yoga, and it is not about raj yoga. It is all yogas put together. He's talking about. No? He's talking about that you do this by psychic control. You do this by philosophy. Okay, you do this by work. That is karma yoga. And he says the books, churches, temples are all secondary details. Okay, so that is something. So Utista Jagrata Prapya Varana Nivodita is arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So it's a very, very powerful statement by Vivekananda. So liberation, the path of liberation is easy, provided we have built our character. It is difficult if you get totally entangled into the momentariness of life in the phenomenal world. And more you are into the phenomenal world, we don't know exactly what is the nominal world. And that's what is the goal for liberation. That is how we actually we can liberate ourselves from the vagaries and from entanglements and clingingness and bickerings of everyday life. Because there is where actually we can experience heaven in this earth. And that is where actually you're able to experience joy of life. That's all. Thank you.